Let's get this pig. Wow. Hey, thanks. Such a reception. I can tell you are as excited about Sony's state of play as I am. Now let's go over the highlight reel from Sony's state of play. Deathloop's still coming out. Thanks for coming, everyone. Drive safely. Good night.
This is Crashed While Loading, the fusion of entertainment and information.
Hello there.
Weekly updates and opinions on video games,
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
movies,
I'm about to do to you what Limp Bizkit did to music in the late 90s.
TV shows,
This is the way.
This is the way.
and so much more.
JJ, what do you want to do tonight?
Off. We need to go on a quick adventure. Hello, people of the interwebs. Short and tall, skinny and fat, and Canadians. Sorry. Have to include them. We're an inclusionary show. Also, still the official podcast of Antarctica. Yeah, Cat Jam doesn't work here. People keep trying that. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to set it up, and I don't care enough to learn. Yeah, don't know. I have no idea. I know it's just that cat that's head bobbing his head. Even though everyone, I don't know if you realize this, off camera is the owner's hand doing that to the cat. So really, it's cat abuse. And if you're in for animal cruelty, well then, you're probably a Fortnite player. Anyway, thanks for. I totally got off on a tangent. I don't know the Cat Jam thing. I know what it is. I honestly have no idea how to. There's all sorts of things you can do on streams, and I don't know how to do any of them. Other than get it to work. I was helping Ericus. He's thinking of doing it, and we were getting all that set up, and he's gonna do his thing. I'm also not good at telling people how to do that very well because I don't know how to tell people things, which is odd for somebody that does a podcast where I tell people things. Then again, this is the same guy that has a job where I deliver mail, and I have to get it accurately to people's last names. And I'm not good with names, but I've been doing a job half-assed for umpteen years. So, hey, fake it till you make it. That's what I say. Also, chips before dips is the other thing I say. I don't know exactly what it means. I actually like both, but I have found that it is difficult to dip something sans something to dip it in. You just get it all over your hands, which frankly nobody likes at all. This is Crashed While Loading. It's the 41st episode. I don't know if I've even said that. I've completely lost track of my thought process. You can watch it live, like Renfail and Ericus, and I believe one kid in North Dakota is probably doing right now, which is awesome. They're not only smart people, they are highly intelligent, going into the smart thing, and good looking. And yes. And also, ironically, Renfail and Ericus, you are the Oreo cookie to the American cream sandwich, being one in Canada and one down in Mexico. Your sandwich, we've got the whole North America, what do they call it? Mex-Americanada. We've got all three of them. We are Mex-Americanada right now. We are all Mex-Americanadians. I don't know what's going on. Twitch.tv/Crashed While Loading. Follow Discord. It's over there. I know. This is going to be one of those episodes. It was a really shitty day at work. And, so that happened at work. And I didn't get stuff yesterday because we had a grandson who has ear infections and respiratory sickness infections from the ears, and he's a snot monster. Yeah, he's adorable, and I love him. But oof, man, when he sneezes just right, he looks like one of those kids off the anime that have the little snot bubble blowing in and out, like inflating from their nostril. If you've seen those, yeah, it's not pretty. And he just loves, like all kids, they love having their face rubbed with tissues and don't just then smear it all over their cheek. It's just all awful. So, got a pretty good show for you today, I guess. I mean, I've got a lot of reviews, which is funny. We went to an actual movie theater to see Black Widow, and I have to say, I really missed movie theaters. I also have to say, in a year and a half, that they've been closed and supposedly sanitized and de-gunkified and cleaned for your pleasure. The floors are still sticky somehow, and the carpets are still extremely stained in pretty much every location. Year and a half of supposedly deep cleaning, and yeah, it's still a movie theater. And I'm not sure how that happens, but it does. I think it's just so ingrained that even on places where it's the concrete, the constant soda spillage and buttery popcorn has actually seeped into the foundation, kind of like an ancient Indian burial ground, but with popcorn and soda in a movie theater. And so instead of angry native people that will come back and bring your cat back to life and your young son who then kills off your entire family, they just make your shoes stick to everything. It's really pretty much the exact same premise, and I believe, having said that out loud into the universe, Stephen King is probably working on some sort of a horror movie theater possessed by popcorn and soda pop at this very moment. That's just how it works. He just knows these things, and he will take full credit. But yeah, so anyway, we watched Fear Street, Black Widow. I finished Final Fantasy XIV's 2.0. So I'm going to review that. I'm also going to review a reviewer over at IGN who she is just terrible and inconsistent, which is ironic given that I'm going to rail against reviewers while I'm doing a ton of reviews on this. But there's going to be a valid point to it. The point being that make sure you have a similar taste to the reviewer and you don't actually, just because a website says something or some idiot on a podcast says something, doesn't make it your truth. Like if you like movies in a certain genre and somebody else doesn't, and they review a movie that you're, like people that hate Fast and the Furious, it doesn't matter if it's a good turn off your brain popcorn and action flick. They hate those movies. They would rather go see Rosebud for the 4,000th time, even though it's just a stupid sleigh, or something really high quality like The Mummy. I don't know, just off the top of my head, things of up in the Hitchcock and Spielberg level of stuff. Of course, being The Mummy. So yeah, I'm gonna go over all that. So I will warn you, Black Widow, I'll tell you what I thought of it early on. I won't go into spoilers until, as always, the end of the show. That way, if you don't want to be spoiled on Black Widow, don't worry. I'm not going to spoil anything. I do my best not to spoil things until the end of the show, and then if you want to stick around, you can stick around. I will allow it. However, you will have to leave a quarter on the counter. So, one thing we did watch, and I'm going to give my dog just ran here at 4,000 miles an hour, slammed her chew toy into my foot, left it, and walked out. Completely. I didn't kick the dog, I kicked the chew toy. So, we watched Fear Street 1978. Yeah, actually, I used to be a joke. Yeah, Ericus asked, can it be a Canadian quarter? It can be. It used to be a joke in America that, it was basically worthless. But I think actually now the exchange rate, you guys are pretty even with the American dollar, which is not that yours came up so much as that ours just skyrockets down. It's not really worth sitting on money anymore. It just keeps losing value. Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, so Fear Street 1978. This is apparently, I didn't realize these were going to come out like 1 week after the other. These are movies by R.L. Stine that Netflix is doing. The one I reviewed last week was 1994. Fear Street 1994, and this was 1978. I think the next one is going to be Fear Street 1666. There's a little bit of a gap, but that goes back to the origins of the town and stuff like that. Yeah, so the Canadian dollar is 80 cents US. Yeah, see, that's about what I figured. Our money is garbage. It used to be more. It used to be the other way around by a lot, but no. Yeah. Anyway. So this has been Monetary Talk. Thanks for calling Crash While Monetizing. I don't actually monetize this show. I probably should, but I don't. So I forgot to mention one thing about these movies in the last episode, and that is the soundtrack. I mean, not like the film score. The film score is, it's it's what you'd expect. But the actual, like, music they play is just fucking awesome, man. It's, it's a great soundtrack for a movie. And they actually, we were watching the 1994 one, and we let it ended, and I was like, oh man, that 78's going to is some awesome, and it did. It had Bowie and things like that. But let's see. So for 1994, I'm just going to go over this real quick here. It had Thursday from 99 Tales. I don't remember that one off the top of my head. Creep from Radiohead. Everybody knows that. Insane in the Brain by Cypress Hill. The Day I Tried to Live by Soundgarden. You Always Hurt the One You Love by Mills Brothers. Sweet Jane, Cowboy Junkies. School's Out, Alice Cooper. Yeah. Oh wait, that's because that was teased for 1978, but it was still technically in the movie. Killing Me Softly with his song Hey by the Pixies. Fear the Dark, Iron Maiden. Your Woman by Whitetown. Just Sour Times, G's Hustler by Snoop Dogg. Firestarter by Progeny. More Human Than Human by White Zombie. Only When It Rains by Garbage. And Closer by Nine Inch Nails. I mean, it's like 19, I think it was 19 songs in that first movie. Yeah, it was just one, like, awesome song. And the way the beats of when they came on and off were it just hit, like, every little thing. Yeah, it was Renfeld, 90s Power List. It was absolutely a 90s Power List. In 1978 was the same kind of thing. Let's see. I'm not going to go over every single one, but let's see. We had, I don't know as many of these. I'm terrible with song names, so if you don't know them, don't feel bad. I'm reading off a list. I know the songs when I hear them, but me knowing titles, outside of Cherry Bomb by the Runaways, part of that's because it's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and before that, it was also because I think it was on Guitar Hero or Rock Band, and it was a fun song to play, so obviously I did that one a lot. But they have, like, Bitter Blue by Cat Stevens, You Always Hurt the One You Love, Jordan Dindale. The First Cut is the Deepest, Cat Stevens. That one actually was that, when that song came on, it was just the perfect part. Don't Fear the Reaper, Blue Oyster Cult, Moonage Daydream by David Bowie, Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. I mean, just Sweet Jane, Velvet Underground, You Always Hurt the One You Love, Mills Brothers, Slow Ride, and The Man Who Sold the World, again by David Bowie. It's the same thing, just like a 70s, just awesome soundtrack. I'm curious how they're going to carry all this over to 1666. I mean, it's... And now, coming up, climbing down on the charts is Ring Around the Rosie. I hope everyone has their pockets full of posy, because this one's going all the way to the Plague Doctor. There's not a lot of great, well-known songs from 1666, so I don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. They've had these awesome songs for these last two movies, and... I don't know, really creepy dark nursery rhymes warning people of the plague, which, by the way, I looked it up thinking because I, like everybody that Ring Around the Rosie was about the plague. Turns out that's actually a myth that was created in the 1960s. Before that, it's actually like a party game that children did where they would sing it, and kind of like how we have like an old version of the jump rope songs that kids sang when we were in grade school. Not me, because I had the hand-eye coordination of a blind, legless hamster, and so I did not jump of the rope. I did not enjoy the jumping of the rope. So, I don't think I actually gave a review of Fear Street. I was just talking about the music. Oh, yeah, so 1978, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more in the review, the bad review chick over at IGN, because she gave this one, I think it was like a 6 or a 7, I don't even remember, but she gave the first one a 9, and the first one, by the way, was not a 9. It was a solid, it was probably a solid 6 or 7. This one she gave a 7. This one was easily like an 8, 8.5. It was a far superior and better movie overall. It just ran better. It was a lot more fun at the same time. The kids were a little less stupid. Like, one of the problems I had in the very first, in 1994, was one of the two characters get mad at each other because there's Shady Vale and Sunny Dale. No, Shady Side and Sunnydale. And one's rich, one's the poor place, and that's the one that is kind of cursed. And like, one of the kids, like, they went from the poor side to the rich side, and the other one's like, "You left me when you decided to go and pretend your new life's like," no, her parents moved. It's like, kids don't really, they're teenagers in high school. You don't really have an option when you get moved because your parents went somewhere else. It's not up to you. It's just a thing that happens. And also, you guys are like, you said you're 30 minutes away. You're teenagers. You have a car. 30 minutes is not enough to break up a relationship. I would think, especially just even being rival schools is not that big a deal. It had stupid stuff like that. But overall, this one, it was definitely, I loved the kind of Jason Voorhees, Mike Myers slasher kind of feel that they managed to reestablish with this one, and continued the story that they're telling overall about this witch, and dropped the little secrets and hints that came up from the past. I've loved it. I've actually really enjoyed it. I didn't know anything about it until it just kind of popped up on the radar, and I've enjoyed these movies. I'm looking forward to the third one. So there's my half-assed review of that. Moving on to Final Fantasy XIV 2.0. I finished this. I'm on to Heaven's Word now. And it's much better, I will say. 2.0 suffered a lot. It was like 100 quests in the 2.0 version. And then from 2.1 to 2.55, it was another 100 quests to get to Heaven's Word. And I mentioned before how they streamlined that. They cut out a lot of those. They shortened some of them. Like 30 of them, they just flat out got rid of because they were just fetch quests and superfluous. They served no point to the overall story, so those were gone. But overall, especially once it gets going and they realize you're the Warrior of Light and Heidelin's doing that, it's really a good story. I've really enjoyed playing through it again. And I would highly recommend it, especially, from the narrative perspective. I know recently I was actually talking on Renfail's Mondays in MMORPGs, which is up now. I didn't put a link to it yet because I forgot because I was doing the show. It took me like an hour and a half to put this thing together. I know, it doesn't seem like it should take that much effort and work, but for some reason it always does. Also, I think it's because of my ADHD, and I just kind of like, look at that, what's that? And I start reading stuff and go into whatever. But I was talking about how that happens, and they, you don't have to, on his show, we were talking about how, like, you can skip all the side quests. You're just doing the MSQ now. Oh, it's all right, Ren. I'm going to put it up as soon as the show. He was saying he was running late today and had to renew their health insurance today, which I saw took him fun 6 hours because bureaucracy. Ha ha! That's my sympathies, bud. Any time you have to deal with insurance and health in the state, regardless of which one it is all awful. My throat's really dry, sorry. But the skipping all the side quests and stuff like that, it really helped you keep hold of the narrative. But it also, if like a lot of MSQs, there's dips in quality and waxes and wanes. So without the side quests, you just kind of have to power through some of that. I know Heaven's Word probably has a lot of the same stuff. They didn't have to cut any quests. It was a much more streamlined expansion. I will say so far, like, it's very interesting at the beginning, and then you get to the first zone and it sort of like tapers off in the interestingness of it. But that's playing through MMOs in general. There's ups and downs, but no, I gotta say, Final Fantasy 14, especially 2.0, if you don't skip past all that, is a really good RPG and MMO. I've really enjoyed it. There's a reason it's kind of exploding still. But, I don't know. As for Black Widow, I liked it. It did a lot of good stuff. It did some stuff that was a little, it was okay kind of parts. I will say anytime, I'm not going to spoil this. I'll do the spoiler thing at the end. But anytime the family, or more than her, just Black Widow by herself was on the screen, it was a much better movie. Like, she's a great character, and she definitely kicks ass. They did the Sib was actually really happy with it, which is why I know it was a good thing. They did the kick-ass woman thing right. Like, she felt like a badass. You know, she could take care of herself, but they didn't like shove it in your face like they did with the woman moment in Endgame with all the female characters coming together. That one irritated the crap out of my wife. I was like, okay, well, good. I noticed that one was really bad. Because there's good and bad ways to do that. The Mandalorian's final episode, other than him being in it, but, I mean, he's in the fucking show's title, so he had to be there. You know, he was surrounded by Cara Dune, I forget her name, but the chick that played in Final Fantasy Spirits Within and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I forget the character's name now, and Bo-Katan. I mean, it was a chick squad, and it was awesome. You know why? Because they just that's just how the story works, and it works really well. And with Black Widow, overall, it was good. Being that it takes place kind of around the time of Captain America Civil War, you know, she's still on the run and all that, and it kind of filled in some gaps in the story a little bit about what she was up to and where she was going, instead of her just fucking off until she comes back when they call. But overall, I mean, it was fun. It's a Marvel movie. Is it their best Marvel movie? No. But to be fair, Avengers Endgame and all that was going to be almost impossible to ever beat. But it was far, far, far from their worst Marvel movie, like Thor, which the first Thor I did not enjoy at all. It was very boring. Even, honestly, the first Captain America wasn't one of my favorites. Or Iron Man 2 was meh. But, you know, they're all very similar in quality. Some of them just peak a little higher, and some of them dip a little lower, but they're all at least enjoyable. And this is definitely in the middle of the pack, which may not sound like high praise, but I mean, it's not Batman versus Superman or, you know, Justice League. So there's it's still better than any of those movies by a long shot, sadly. Moving on, still on Marvel news, though. I thought this was interesting and kind of cool because it makes sense. They're saying Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige was saying that they are not going to do the multi-movie deals anymore with the actors. He says here, it varies project to project, cast to cast, reflecting on sweeping talent changes previously inked. Really, what we want are people that come in and are excited to be in the universe, are excited at the opportunity to do more things as opposed to being locked into a contractual obligation. Like, for example, who was it? Like, Robbie Downey Jr. had, I think, and Chris Evans, they were locked into 6 movies. Samuel L. Jackson, it says here, was locked into a 9-movie deal. He'll still be coming back. He's definitely done more than that, but he kind of, he's just one of those guys that digs in that kind of stuff. So with what they have built now, I kind of don't think they really need to do that. Hopefully it doesn't bite them in the butt, because that would be a shame for them to, get if the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, if this does really well and it's like a blowout hit, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy was, where nobody expected that to really... That was the one everyone was kind of expecting to bomb, and it ended up being one of their most fun and enjoyable movies that went completely off on its own tangent before, coming back into the story. So if they do that and, like it's a hit and then the guy's like, well, now I want such and such money, it might bite them in the butt a little bit when they're not contractually obligated to stick around for several movies. But it could also be that they're just like, we don't need to do the 9-movie deal if they get someone like this, like for Shang-Chi or the Eternals and stuff like that they'll just be like, 1 or 2 movies, and then if you move on, cool, we'll shake hands, bow our heads, and say grace. I don't know why they're eating at my grandma's dinner table, but sure, why not? We'll go with it. Moving on from that, Minecraft is rated R in South Korea, and Microsoft is looking into a solution. So apparently this comes because Microsoft is kind of stupid, and the Korean law is also kind of stupid. The law is dumb, and Microsoft knew what was coming, but they didn't do anything about it. Renfield says, I'd also say they're regretting the massive bonuses they have to pay on the multiple movie contracts. Yeah, probably. I forgot about, some of those guys, like, depending on the success of the movie, they got like a percentage cut. And I don't know if anyone else is as amazing at math as I am, but a fraction of a percent at billions and billions of dollars is actually quite a bit. Yeah. Hemsworth, he says, was $300K for the first film and like $20 million per since. And I think, if I remember right, Downey Jr. was in the 80 million mark or something like that. I want to say that he was getting up there. He was really, really costing them money. But he was also bringing in billions of dollars in. So, you kind of have to do that. But back onto Minecraft. So we all know what Minecraft is, but apparently I always want to call it the North Koreans, but the North Koreans are really upset, in the spite of them being put into worker camps and eating their young in those same camps. Not a joke. That's actually something that has been seen and done to survive. They're real upset that they can't get on Minecraft. No, that's not how it works. South Korea, however, is a totally different country and not run by a insane family. So they've got a Cinderella law that pulls the plug on any child or teen hoping to play games with their mates into the early hours of the morning. Since law was passed in 2011, so it's been 10 years. They've had time to figure this out. It means anyone under the age of 16 is prohibited from playing video games between midnight and 6 a.m. So that's the law. It's been like that for 20 years. And now, when Microsoft bought out, a lot of people's Minecraft accounts were on that Mayong, the original company. They've been using that ever since, and they've just now started to shift people from that over to a Microsoft account, which is something they probably should have done a long time ago. While it's changed now, let's see here. That's changed now. The official Microsoft website warned players back in December 20. Hey, my dogs are growling at each other. That they needed to start signing into an Xbox Live account to access the game. The migration started off as a voluntary thing, but then in March it became a real thing. So basically what happened was that people weren't going over, and that anybody on the like the Mayong account. You didn't originally have to. You didn't have to do that. So it just the North or South Koreans just were like, anybody that's logged in with that, we just have to assume they're under the age of 19, and this blocked everybody from it during those hours. So Microsoft had a lot of opportunity to do this. It's just kind of funny that because of the way that there's no age verification on one of them, the Korean government's just like, probably all kids. Sure. It stinks of the inevitable bureaucracy of any government, mine, Australia, over in Europe, that when it comes to video games, they have no idea what is going on. It's just completely just the Wild West of stupidity, basically. But I thought it was interesting. Sony's State of Play. Yeah, I wasn't impressed at all. When you're not going to be at E3 and then you're still going to do kind of your own thing, bring it. I'm just going to say, because what they did do was not great. I mean, they got a trailer for Deathloop, which if you're going to play Deathloop, you're already in on that. That's not it. Death Stranding, getting a director cut that will cost you $10 to upgrade if you own it from PS4 to PS5. I think that's kind of shitty myself, but everyone else seems to be completely okay with that, even though, like, The Witcher announced that it's got a updated version of itself coming out for the new consoles, and as long as you own the game, you just get the upgrade for free. Now, maybe the Death Stranding thing is because it's the director's cut. But I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I would buy the director's cut myself because I never got Death Stranding, and I'll probably wait and play it whenever I get my hands on a PS5. But until then, I'm good. But everyone else seemed all right with it. I don't know. It seemed weird. I didn't care for it. They announced a couple things. I'll go over it real quick. Moss Book 2 it's a VR game with mouse. I don't have PSVR, and it's only on PSVR, so I wasn't familiar with this. It looks neat. It's like a puzzle platforming game, and it's not first person. Like, you're controlling the little guy and standing over him in a 3D space, I guess. I wasn't sure. The trailer is in graphics, but it was very cinematic, so it was kind of hard to tell exactly what it was about. There's Arkhamageddon announced early access starts today. Today would be when it was actually happened. Okay, it looks like they say here, it's a multiplayer shooter, solo and 4-player co-op. Okay. New Tribes of Midgard, post-launch content revealed. Tribes of Midgard, don't play it. They're going to release the Wolf Saga season, introduce a new rune system, and that will come out on July 27th on PS4 and PS5. Hunter's Arena Legend coming to PS4 and PS5. It's an RPG MOBA and many other genres. You could tell my excitement for all this. I watched through a lot of this stuff and looked through it, and I'm like, I don't. None of it looks all that interesting. Fist, Forge of the Shadow Torch is a 2D Metroidvania starting a rabbit on the run from ferocious machines. Got a September 4th release date, and that one's at least coming to PC, PS4, PS5, and PC. So it was really back last year. This one, for some reason, Sifu, Age and Experience, that was the trailer. But people seem really excited for this, and having watched the trailer, I don't get why. It looks like a very generic kind of brawler in a way. I mean, with kung fu. Like here, he says stylish kung fu, and it looked like, yeah, it was kung fu, but all kung fu looks stylish when compared to, I don't know, like beatboxing, which is not actually what you think. It's not where you go like. Beatboxing is actually where you just beat somebody with a box. A lot of people don't know that. But me, growing up on the mean streets in the ghettos of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, I know these things. I grew up in that life. I've warned you about the polo shirt game and the plaid shorts gangs that I had to fight constantly. And luckily, I was an amazing beatboxer and was able to keep them back with my refrigerator box. So what now? Well, it's Sifu. Anyway, it says it's crossroads of two established and popular genres, mixing a beat 'em up with 3D action. It looks. Honestly, I'm not that crazy for it. Then there was Jet the Far Shore. They say here it resembles No Man's Skies in some way, featuring sci-fi exploration both on foot and via spaceship, focused primarily on exploration. I don't know why I keep wanting to say that they're going to expire. I don't know. Then there is Sega shows the Demon Slayer gameplay. Demon Slayer's an anime. Anime games are pretty much all terrible for the most part. There's a few exceptions in like the fighting games, like the Dragon Ball Z Fighters. Like that was an amazing game. They did a fantastic job on that with the animation stuff, but they also took it 2D. A lot of the 3D ones, terrible. They're awful. Like the Naruto ones. I want to like them. They're not good. Lost Judgment will include a free next-gen upgrade for both PS5 and Xbox. See, like that one right there. That's even on both of the consoles, and it's a free upgrade to the next gen if you have that. I think if I remember right, Lost Judgment is in the Yakuza universe. If sequel, yeah, Yakuza spinoff. So featuring a private detective. Never played a Yakuza game, but I'm going to sooner or later. And then the Death Stranding director's cut release date revealed. That's going to come out on September 24th. Pre-orders available now. It includes new battles and advanced combat mechanics, as well as items such as a firing range, cargo catapult, new story missions, and a race mode. Oh, okay. I forgot all that stuff was. Yeah, I guess it's $10 to get that upgraded version. That's better than making somebody pay the entire $60. So I'll give them that. All right. I've changed my own mind. I am that amazing of a reader of things. And then, of course, Deathloop got a new trailer. They describe it as supernatural Hitman. I never really got into the Hitman series. This Deathloop does look good, and everyone on the Sony people are like, "Look at that! The first Microsoft game coming out is going to be exclusive to PlayStation for a year." And first off, it was a Bethesda game, and that thing was struck up a long time before Microsoft bought them out. It's not going to be that big a deal. Calm down, Nancy. You're going to be fine. These are, of course, a lot of the same people that are like going to be crying when Skyrim and all the other stuff stops coming to PlayStation. You can't ever win with a lot of gamers. Some of them are just butt stupid. So I do a happy thing here. Well, I say happy. A dog died. That's not happy. But who was it? I think Bethesda giving $10,000 to the Humane Society in the honor of the dog River is a good story. River was actually the dog, the German Shepherd that was used as the model for Fallout 4's Dogmeat. And River passed away because that's what dogs do eventually. It just kind of happens, especially those bigger dogs like that. They don't typically live to be all that old. Like my Yuna, who was a husky. She's about the same size as a German Shepherd. Well, a small German Shepherd. Not a big one. Some of those big ones, they're yikes! There's a reason you can take down a fully grown man running at his fastest and still catch up with him like he's standing still. Damn! So, yeah, I just thought it was cool. Let's see. Yeah, mostly they just talk about it. Let's see here. Dogmeat, how they nailed Dogmeat's in-game friendliness because of River. River attended countless meetings, but not just to be poked, prodded, and recorded and filmed as a reference. Her biggest job was to be with the team. The more they bonded with her, the more they saw Dogmeat as a character, a friend. So they would work with River on the personality and behavior, and apparently I didn't realize how much I don't know a lot about programming and things like that, but apparently they actually spent a lot of time with the dog that they referenced. I mean, you'd think you just honestly, for someone like me, I thought they would just have Googled like German Shepherds and be like, Yeah, we'll make it look like that one right there. The fact that they actually brought in a dog and let's see, hold on. They work. Oh, and apparently they even had her voice Dogmeat. They actually recorded her barking and her other noises and stuff like that. That's so funny. Like, but yeah, if I would have thought they'd just like, I don't know, Google German Shepherd barking, and then just put, that in there. But no, they did a lot of work, actually, working with this dog. So yeah, it's cool that they gave $10,000 to the Humane Society in her name, and her legacy will forever live on in an okay Fallout game. At least she wasn't in 76. Could have been worse. Moving on to Witcher news. WitcherCon happened, which just made my man crush on Henry Cavill that much better when he referenced a chandelier in the background. Even though I don't know Warhammer 40K, there was the chandelier in the background that's from the set, and he's. Let's see here. What was it? Got to this before. He said, quote, "There's been something I've been dying to say every day on this set. I was grinding my teeth because there was no one who would know the reference I'm about to give you. That chandelier looks like the Blackstone Fortress, or looks like a Blackstone Fortress, which is a big floating fortress in Warhammer 40K. And I actually had to look up Blackstone Fortress and found it, and then I looked at the chandelier, and yeah, he's actually right. And somebody that likes Warhammer would probably make the same reference. I don't know much about it, but no, I don't know why. It just the fact that he's just been sitting there filming this whole time on this set and thinking, none of these assholes around me have any idea what that looks exactly like. But fine. I'll just wait until I get interviewed and tell everybody else that eventually my people will come and they will flock to me and they will know to which I speak. So that we got The Witcher 2 or Witcher Season 2 is going to be on December 17th, which is looking awesome. Also, they showed a preview for an anime called Nightmare of the Wolf, which is going to follow a young Vesemir. And as far as I know, this isn't done by the same studio that did yeah, no, they didn't. It doesn't say it is here, but it looks like it's in that same style as Castlevania and whatnot. It's a 2D anime coming to it. It looks really good. I'm really excited for this. I didn't know that I wanted to see the early years of Vesemir. Now I do. I also think I'm not sure which one this takes. I think Nightmare of the Wolf actually it technically follows. While it is animated, I think it's in the Witcher universe of the series too. So we'll get a little backstory on Vesemir as well, which it looked really good. I love that. And the trailer for the new Witcher season 2 looked great. I also loved. I remembered them casting him and then I forgot, but seeing him, the guy that played Lambert, I don't have his name now, is the same guy that played the redheaded dude that was always going after Brienne of Tarth with the wildling in Game of Thrones. And seeing him in the trailer walking around Ciri is just, he's going to be a fantastic Lambert. I can't tell you how excited I am. And of course, then they showed a picture of Yasker rocking out as the bard. By the way, Ericus, take notes. Yasker is who you should be basing your bard characters on from now on. Let's see. Renville here says, it's going to be good. My wife has never been into anime, but she saw that and got excited. By anime, I should rephrase animated movies in general. Right. Yeah, some people that anything anime is terrible, and they're like, what? Even the Disney movies. Okay, well, that's not anime, but if you don't like some people just don't get into animation. I don't get it. I love it. But then again, I'm a person that hates nearly every musical. I don't enjoy them, no matter how good or bad they are. There's a few that push through and get to me. There's just not very many, and a lot of them have to be comedies, funny enough, like Little Shop of Horrors and things like that. But it's just, yeah, Castlevania was epic, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's just not for everyone. Just, it's, there's just no getting around that. Everything can't be for everyone. There's not possible. They also did a Dark Horse Netflix Geralt collectible, which, yep, that would be, they're $50. It'll be out December 1st, 2021. It's actually a lot like the ones I have from the video game one. They announced The Witcher Season 2 episode titles, but I'm not going to read those off because if you know anything about The Witcher, it might spoil something. Reading through here, probably not that much. I mean, we already know they're going to Kaer Morhen, so obviously the title episode Kaer Morhen is going to be the one where they probably get to Kaer Morhen. They also announced a bunch of DLC for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, based on the Netflix. It's not going to be like new quests or anything, but like I said earlier, you're going to get the remaster will include free DLCs based on Netflix Witcher series. It's currently unclear what the DLCs will be. I have a feeling it'll be things like swords and whatnot, and I kind of wonder if one of them won't be, you'll be able to pick between video game Geralt and Henry Cavill Geralt, like as an anime, as the look. I don't think they're not going to have Henry Cavill completely redo all the voice lines in that. That would cost them a pretty penny. Let's see, someone put a link on there, Kaer Morhen Forge. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yes. Oh, so that's the guy that actually made those swords. I noticed those swords in the trailer, Renfail. He's there. If you watch the trailer, they have some of the swords in there, and they look, honestly, those look exactly like the ones that they have in the video game. The hilt style, and it's kind of just, it's been permeated throughout the covers and things like that. But I thought that was really cool. The one with the cross guard was pointing forward in a V shape. But no, that's cool that guy actually that's the guy that did that. Let's see here. And yep, that was pretty much it. The DLC thing is cool. I'm really glad that it's so funny. And rightfully so, people have shit on CD Projekt Red because of what they did with Cyberpunk 2077. And everyone still does, and they did screw up with that big time. But at the same time, while it may not have been the commercial success it was supposed to be, it did make them money start making them money within the first week of sales. Even with all the stuff they had to refund and whatnot and being taken off the PlayStation Store, it was a success. And honestly, everyone's like, oh, it wasn't a critical one. Well, yeah, actually, as long as you played it on computer, it was. And yeah, there you go. Renfield says it was also the highest downloaded game this June on the PS4 store. Yeah, because they made it available, and everyone's like, now I'm going to get it. They've been waiting. And I think from what he said, he actually played through it over at his Renfield. If you look him up on what's that stupid thing called? YouTube. One of the biggest gaming, or one of the biggest websites on earth. That thing that I can't remember. That search engine, Dogpile. That was it. Yahoo. Yahoo is the search engine I'm talking about. No, find him over at Renfield. You'll have to just search him on YouTube. I just forgot the name again. And he was playing through it, and yes, it's still janky, and it is definitely probably not the preferred way to go if you've got either a good computer, a decent gaming computer, or a next-gen console like a PS5 or a PlayStation or Xbox Series X. Xbox, you really got to work on your naming conventions, by the way. And he said, suppose it plays good on a PS4 Pro. So he has the old the chunker from the pre-Pro. So it's just he was able to play through it, and it played good. But I would definitely say it's not the preferred way to do it. But at the same time, it is a good game. It really is. And while they did get the shit, the fact that they're still doing stuff for The Witcher kind of shows exactly what kind of that company is, and people forget the good faith they had before they really, screwed the pooch by trying to put that on last-gen consoles. Last-gen consoles now. So, I don't know. I'm still a fan of CD Projekt Red. Every company makes missteps. I mean, you look at Rare. They were like the golden boy of video game making, and they just sort of I think CD Projekt Red's going to learn from it and actually come out stronger than they were before. Unlike like BioWare is still they're still digging that hole with Andromeda being what it was, and then Anthem also sucking pretty hard, and they've been trying to dig out that hole for a while, and hopefully Mass Effect 4 will be what will be that shovel that finally lets them fill in the dirt. I don't know. I'm really hoping for it because I really do like BioWare. I love their games for the most part, and I like what they've come from, but we'll see. Kind of got off in the weeds there. Anyway, moving on. Before I get to the bad reviewers, I forgot to do this last week, but I just forgot. But I want to do it at the beginning of each month, at least for like a year or so. Video games that came out in video gaming history that month. And so since we're still in July, yes, it is still July. I should make sure. I get my J months confused very easily with June and July. We need to separate every month by a different letter of the alphabet from now on. When we burn the world down and rebuild the calendar, we need to remember that it is very confusing to me, and what I say matters. So this month of July in gaming history, in 2001, Final Fantasy X came out on July 19th. It has been 20 years, July 19th, since Final Fantasy X came out. I thought that game came out like a year ago, felt like. I feel like I just played, Titus and Yuna and played against Sin and the giant space whale, and that just happened. Like, I've been looking at the remastered edition. If I ever get time to, I kind of want to play through that again. But it's been 20 years. And also, we're only up 5 more Final Fantasies since then. So, yeah, kind of get the let out on that one, guys. You really jacked that up with 15. Really kind of destroyed the pacing there. Also, July 23rd, 2001 was Max Payne's first big debut. Best known for doing what The Matrix tried to do, or what The Matrix did, and video games were trying to do with the slow-mo, spinny, shooty thingy. And they did it pretty well, and unfortunately they haven't actually done much of it lately. I think Max Payne 3 was quite some time ago. Also, Child of Light, which is a game I played. It's a Metroidvania, kind of with a floating girl, and it's supposed to be really good, and it is visually great, and it is a good game. I just cannot get into those Metroidvanias, no matter how hard I try. And also Sniper Elite 3. Both came out on July 1st, 2014, so they've been out for good 7 years, which, hey, good for them. Also, Bastion, which is a game I tried to get into. Like, I really like Inside. The company that did Bastion did that too. That one was good. But Bastion, I enjoyed what I played of it, but I couldn't stick with it. It was also isometric over the top. And I don't do good with those. But that came out in 2011. So that's been another 10-year-old game. Catherine, which is another one I never finished but enjoyed. It was that one with the relationship thing, and it was really, really weird. That came out in 2011 as well. And yeah, that was a good game, highly critically acclaimed and all that, and very successful, but weird as hell. Also, they crazy bitches be crazy, yo. And one I grew up loving on my NES. I'm bleeding. I don't know why I'm bleeding. Don't get old. Your skin breaks for no reason whatsoever. Cobra Triangle. Also, I didn't even realize this, but I was looking for these. It's a Rare game. Speaking of games, the game companies. But yeah, Cobra Triangle was a little boat one on NES, and you steered a boat that shot stuff, and you had ramps, and I loved that game. It was very challenging because it was an NES game. They all were. I loved Cobra Triangle growing up. It had the stupid, goofy looking anime serpent with the little speedboat shooting little pew 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 pellets at him. And that was the sound effect. Believe it or not, it was pew pew pew. Probably actually not that far off, but I loved Cobra Triangle. I remember loving that as a kid. 1989 Mike just totally dug on that. And I think I actually played that. That was the year we moved here from California to Oklahoma, so I must have played that around here. And then there was another one that I didn't know, but my buddy Barry did, and we Game Sharked it a lot because we didn't really get the idea of RPGs at the time. Like I remember renting the original Final Fantasy, thinking it was supposed to be really cool. Had no idea what the fuck I was doing because nothing like that existed before. Like I didn't get that you were supposed to click the commands, that it wasn't a punchy shooty. You didn't actually shoot things. You just clicked like attack and it was random. And D&D, I didn't play D&D at the time. I didn't even know what it really was other than the devil's game. So I didn't know, but Chrysalis, I don't know how many people even remember Chrysalis on the NES, but it was like their version, it was kind of like an off-brand version of Legend of Zelda in a way, mixed with Final Fantasy. I don't know what the story was about. We never finished it, never really understood what the hell we were doing, especially if you Game Sharked it and you could teleport around. You were definitely at spots that you weren't supposed to be at without other items, and I remember it very fondly. And also Gauntlet came out in 1988 on the NES. If you don't know what Gauntlet is, you probably didn't spend any time in an arcade anywhere in the late 90s, early 90s and any 90s actually, because they were still everywhere. The late 80s or any time in the 90s, there was always a Gauntlet somewhere in any arcade. If it didn't have a Gauntlet, you weren't at an actual arcade. You were probably at like a bowling alley, and not even a good bowling alley, because most bowling alleys I knew had Gauntlet, because you could play 4 players at one, and it's just a raked in quarters. And also 1987 was the debut this month of Kid Icarus. Yes, Kid Icarus, a very hard game. Like, I remember loving it, and I loving the idea of it, but not being very good at it. I was never good at Kid Icarus. Also, it was then Captain N, the Game Master, came out, and he was in it, and for some reason they made him talk like, I don't know, he had some sort of brain aneurysm, and at least he didn't say Mega like Mega Man did in front of everything, but everything was like Icus, and they tried to make it sound like Latin without actually bothering to know any Latin at all. So anyway, all right, moving on to my review of Bad Reviewers. Before I get on to actual reviews of like the content within Black Widow, I want to put on something. So I noticed this, the reviews for certain movies coming up on IGN. Let's see here. So things like, Fast and the Furious 9. Gotta scroll all the way to the bottom. They gave that one an 8. That's fine. That works. It's Fast and Furious. It is what it is. And then then they have the Rugrats reboot. This one got a 6. Okay. I don't know why they're judging a kids show, but they'll go with it. So I start noticing these things, and this is the same reviewer. Her name is Christy Puchko. I'm not sure how to say it. And I'm sure she is a delightful person, but I have to say she's terrible at reviews. Just awful. I noticed it with like Fear Street. She gave Fear Street a 9, the 1994 one. That got a 9. That is not a 9. And where I'm going with this is that because it comes from IGN, and she's one person doing the review. She's done a review she did Fear Street, she did Tomorrow War, she did Fear Street 1978, and then Monsters at Work, the series premiere review. That's these movies consecutively, like boom, 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 boom. I noticed it's like these are really inconsistent, and then her name kept popping up. And I was reading through the comment section. I'm like, okay, good. I'm not alone in thinking that there seems to be a lot of personal bias. And I don't mean like bias in that like I just don't like sci-fi movies with time travel, like Tomorrow War, which she gave a 3. That's that one Amazon did with Chris Pratt. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I can guarantee you, 1, based on the trailer, and 2, based off the fact that it's got Chris Pratt in it, it is not a 3. I have a feeling what is a 3 is the fact that she probably doesn't feel ideologically with someone like Chris Pratt, who is kind of pro-American and country, good home country guy kind of thing going on. And then a movie like Fear Street had a lesbian angle in it, which was done well, which I said in my review last week. And they did it well. They did it well for the time period, and I thought it didn't feel wedged in there inappropriately, like just to click off the check marks, which is the worst thing you can do for a movie. I've been over that. But that seems like what got a 9. And the reason I was curious, I wasn't going to go into this until I saw what the review for 1978 was, because especially after having seen 1978, before I saw the review, I came out of it thinking it was a superior movie to the 1994 one, which she gave 78 a 7, even though it was a overall better movie. So what I'm getting at here is that while she is more than welcome to have her opinions, you've got to watch it and be careful when you go with these reviewers, and even on websites. Like, you have to keep an eye, because a lot of people don't realize IGN, it's just one dude or chick's opinion of a video game and things like that. Now, they usually try to put somebody that enjoy, like, they're not putting somebody that hates open world games on the Assassin's Creed games. They do try not to do that. That much I do know about their inner workings and things like that, as much as you can from the outside. And I've listened to people that have left, and a lot of them still kind of defend the way things are done in there, even though they don't have to after the fact. But like for example, the beginning Monsters at Work, which is a movie or a TV show for kids based off of Monsters Inc., which is a movie geared towards kids, but yes, they do have some adult humor in there and things that adults enjoy. All Pixar movies do. A lot of the best ones do. Like Shrek was really good at that too. But it's predominantly a kids movie. It's not. You can't even make the Star Wars thing where Lucas is always like, I really make them for kids. Yeah, well, they're rated also PG-13, so you're also making them for adults, dude. It's not rated G or PG like a lot of these movies are. So clearly, this show is made, Monsters at Work, for kids. It's a kids show. It's it's not geared towards a 30-something-year-old. But the first line kind of tells you exactly where the mindset is. Ever wonder what life in Monstropolis was like after Sully and Mike Wazowski toppled villainous CEO Henry J. Waternoose III and transferred Monsters, Inc. power source from children's screams to children's laughter? No? Oh, well, this is awkward because Disney has made an entire cartoon series of that premise called Monsters at Work. Regretfully, that is just the first in a series of curious choices revealed in this two-part series. I get being snarky. That's the entire thing. I'm a comment guy. It's just, I'm here to tell you my opinion and kind of report the news and through my filter. And if you enjoy my opinion, that's fantastic. I'm glad it works. And if you don't and you think I'm a flaming idiot, then probably not the best show for you to take my word for. And it's fine. You don't have to. It's all right. Just like her. Now that I know kind of what she seems to be about, and I'm going to make sure every review she writes, I'm going to have to take with a grain of salt, regardless of the fact that she seems to speak for IGN when it comes to these things. And that's kind of the difference between I'm doing my own thing here and versus somebody that writes reviews and has them placed for IGN is what IGN is. It's huge. It's massive. It's worldwide. They have franchises covering their names in pretty much almost every developed country on Earth. Except for Antarctica, which is why we're the official podcast of Antarctica, and they're not, because they're not there. They're just dumb. So that's what I'm getting at here, is that you've got to know what the review you're getting from. You have to know that, one, they're knowledgeable, and two, that they kind of enjoy that kind of stuff. Like, if I don't enjoy a style of movie and I watch it and I didn't enjoy it, I'll let you know. Like, yeah, so I watched a musical and it wasn't my bag because I don't like musicals. And I try, like, if my ideology and my politics got in the way of me enjoying movies, I would never watch anything ever from Hollywood. I wouldn't be able to stomach it. Like, I'm not a fan of Mark Ruffalo's politics, but he's a fine guy. He's a good Hulk. I enjoy him in those movies. Why? Because I can separate the ideology and the politics of a person from the actual actor and the thing that they are in. And it took me a little while to get over Tom Cruise, but that was less about his politics and more because I couldn't see the weird Scientologist guy jumping up and down on the couch in Oprah for a long time. But then again, he also kind of different. Yeah, separate art from the artist, as Renfield says. And that's exactly the way you should do that. If you're giving a movie like Tomorrow War a 3 because and a lot of the I haven't seen it. Going off on that comment section, especially over on IGN, it had over 1,600 comments. A lot of them were like, "This movie's not a 3. It may be like a 6 or high, maybe a 7, but it is no way a 3." And I comment after like dozens of comments before I just stopped, reading them. But yeah, and I'm the same way, Renfield. I haven't actually seen any review. I saw her review of it, and I saw a 3, and I was like, there's just no way a movie with Chris Pratt is a 3. Could it happen? Yes. But then again, I also saw a review. I saw the review for Pig recently, with which I know, Renfield, you're excited for, and apparently very, very positive reviews on that already. So I'm glad Nicolas Cage's Pig, movie, truffle movie is supposed to be really good, because I'm looking forward to that. And it's getting, but you can kind of tell on these things. Like Tomorrow War, it looks like a turn off your brain popcorn movie. Pig looks like a pig version of John Wick. It's like instead of his dog, someone took his pig and his truffle pig, and he goes all badass on it to get his truffle pig back, and that's awesome. So it's just one of those things. I don't know. You got to watch it. And if you don't, take anything even I say with a grain of salt, because my reviews, they're not going to always be great. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail sometimes, but it might not be right. It might be a movie that you're going to totally love, or a video game that you're absolutely going to care about. And as for me, it's just not my bag. Like anything for me that's over the top and isometric and things like that, they're just not my thing. So I'm just typically not going to. Honestly, you probably won't even get a review out of me for those, because I'd have to try it first. Although I did actually try Broken Ranks, which is that thing, but that was because it was an MMO. So anyway, I just wanted to go over that. It's one of those things. You really got to watch out anywhere you're watching reviews or reading information reviews on stuff. Just watch it. And also, for the love of God, Screen Rant, specifically, fuck yourself for constantly spoiling everything Marvel does within a day of its release, especially with things like Loki and now Black Widow. Had I not already seen them, when I did, they would have had major spoilers in them, and it's really fucking annoying. I hate that so much. So speaking of spoilers, if you haven't seen Black Widow or the current episodes of Loki up to, I think, 5 is where we're at now, I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to talk about them in depth with probable spoilers and stuff like that. So if you don't want to be spoiled on that, now is your time. Oh, God, everybody can forget Battlefield Earth, Renfield. Actually, I never saw it. I just know that it's like Razzie Award level. Yeah, but you enjoyed it, so that's cool. Like, whatever. That's fine. I couldn't get over, the trailer did not pull me in whatsoever to interest me at all. I just couldn't do it. The discount Klingons with the Dune things in their nose for the Fremen suits, just wasn't my vibe. But so all right, so Black Widow and Loki, if you want to see them and you want to see them without spoilers, now is your time to bail. I'm giving you time to do that. I will say I'm glad Black Widow did as good as it did. It's the highest grossing movie so far post COVID. It made $87 million over the weekend in theaters and $60 million in streaming on Disney Plus at $30 a pop. We actually did go see it at the movie theater, Sib and I. We spent, with the tickets were about $10 a piece, and then we got a popcorn and a tea. So we spent about $34. So we spent $4 more going to see it in the movie with a pretty full theater, actually, than we would if we just stayed home. Yeah. So, yeah, if you got to go Renfail, go for it. I don't want to spoil it for you. But, yeah, so it did. Let's see. That's 127 million overall between the two, which is, is it Marvel level, when they usually can make 200 million? No, but also I think COVID had a lot to do with that still. So, but 80, 200, 100, that's still pretty good. It's honestly better than I was kind of worried them releasing it even now. But at least here in Oklahoma, man, the theater was just like kind of old times. It was just so much fun to get to be in movie theater again. So as I said earlier, Black Widow, this is not the best MCU movie, but it's also far from their worst. They do the badass woman thing really, really well. And the whole plot is them finding the Red Room, which is what makes the Widows, and shutting it down. And there's a special gas that one of the ex-widows makes that undoes the brainwashing and things like that. And overall, it was a good movie. Like I said, it had a few disconnected moments where things felt a little slower than others, and that it happens every now and then. But for some reason, the ones for this on me, they were really a lot more noticeable, especially early on, like the first 20-30 minutes or so when she's kind of on her own before her family kicks in and stuff like that. It was probably the slowest bits for me outside of a few action scenes and stuff like that. Because the action was really good, but for the love of God, Marvel, can you hold a fucking cut for more than like 0.5 seconds? It's one of those things I hate in Hollywood. It's what makes the Jackie Chan movies and things like that so great is when they're doing the fight, the cut will last for several seconds as they're doing what they're doing. And in these and a lot of the Marvel fights, especially when with Black Widow, a lot of it's close on close. Like one-on-one combat. It's like close in. It's not shooting powers and things like that, multiple all over the place. You could almost count the cuts per, you don't even always go a full second before they cut from one angle to another. It's just so fast-paced. And that can work, but it's also really disjointed and kind of lazy because you've got you just have snippets of action, and then after the fact, they kind of put it together as opposed to coming up with the fight and filming it, and then, knowing in advance exactly how you're going to do your action scene. I think that Shang-Chi movie, because it has a lot of actual martial artists in it, I think that one's, I have a feeling just by looking at the trailer that the combat and fight scenes in that one are going to feel a lot better and a lot less janky than they do in something like Black Widow, where they're just making so many cuts. I just hate when movies do that. Moving on from that, David Harbour's David Harbour's he's the cop from Stranger Things, and he's been in a lot of other. He's been popping up everywhere. I really like that guy. Oh, he was Hellboy. He made a good Hellboy. It was just a bad script overall, but I think he made a really good Hellboy. But he's the Red Guardian, which is the Soviet Union's Captain America, basically their only super soldier, and he's absolutely fantastic. I loved him. Like I said, it really was once the family got involved, her sister, her mom, and him. It was just a better movie overall because it really was about family from the start, and the early scenes when they're young in America and he gets what he's after, and then they go back over to Russia and they get put in the Red Room and blah, blah, blah. Like that until the family gets back in the picture. it's definitely missing the angle because the whole movie really is about family and finding acceptance and things like that. But him as Redguard, he's just really good. I will say one thing with all of them, because they're all American actors, or they're not Russians, basically. The accents come and go at times. Like, even for him, as good as his Russian accent is, every now and then it just sort of stops, and then kicks back in a minute later. Which is easy to do, because keeping an accent at all times, especially when you're doing one cut after the other, as they are doing all the time, it can get very, discombobulating. You sort of forget the accent you're supposed to be doing. But when you continue to talk like that, everything is a lot easier. But also, nobody here for me is telling me to cut. And then I go and talk to somebody else, like a director, for several minutes before things start to kick back on again. It happens every now and then. And it was a little jarring, especially her sister, Yelena, I think that was the character's name. She does a Russian accent the entire time, and hers was probably the one that kicked in and out the most. David Harbour's only did it like once or twice that I noticed, and most people probably won't even notice it. But because I do stuff like this for stupid reasons and for fun of my own, I notice these things. That is just how it is. Tovarish. But let's see. Talk about that. I will say certain parts of the movie actually did strike a little harder, knowing that she doesn't make it in the end. And I think a lot of people are waiting for like a moment in this movie where they're going to be like, and she survived. And there was almost a moment like that at the end, because they have this whistle thing, her and her sister. And she did it because the end credit scene is her visiting the grave of her sister after she, sacrificed herself, and the world's back to normal post-blip. And she did the whistle while she was cleaning it off, and I half expected like that was good. The cutscene was just going to end with her whistling back in the reply tune. But instead, we got Julie Louis-Dreyfus's Lady Hydra, which I'm not going to say her entire name because I don't remember it off the top of my head, coming to the gravestone and saying that she has another target for her sister, and it's Clint Barton, which is Hawkeye. And she sets it up as that Hawkeye is that killed her sister, killed Natasha, killed Black Widow, which is technically true. I mean, he was holding her arm, but she let go and sacrificed herself so they could get the soul gem. And it kind of sets up that, I have a feeling that's going to go in the way if she's going to go after him in whatever Hawkeye movie that he's going to be in next. He'll be training his daughter, and they'll have to have they'll fight, kind of like Captain America, Thor, and all that stuff did when they first met in the Avengers, and then they'll all ally with each other against a greater common foe, because that's just the way those things have to go. But it was interesting, and it was supposed to be that was actually supposed to be Lady Hydra's first appearance, not in Winter Soldier and Black Falcon, but because Black Widow got postponed for so long, she ended up being in Winter Soldier and Black Falcon first. And honestly, given how quick the end thing was, and they just call her Val in that, I think it actually works out better this way, that she's known and has been set up from the Winter Soldier and TV show than it would have been if you had just got this snippet of her and then she showed up in Winter Soldier later. I don't think a lot of people wouldn't have had the same impact. Also, by the way, being that we saw it in the movie theater, who the fuck still walks out at the very end when the credits roll of a Marvel movie? Half the damn theater still left. And there was two end scenes, and one of them didn't take long to get to, and the other one was at the very, very end of the credits. And people were... What is wrong with people at this point? You should know you don't leave... If it's a Marvel movie, you don't leave a movie theater until the lights come all the way up and the ushers start cleaning stuff. Don't leave the theater. just stay there and watch it. I know you've got to pee. I had to pee. Just stay there and watch it. It's usually worth it. And especially in this, because that last scene is going to set up a lot for Phase 4 in interesting ways. So moving on from that, quickly on Loki, the 5th episode. This, I think, was the best episode of Loki so far. They trying to find who yeah, if you also don't want spoilers on Loki. I think I said that before I started this. Now's your time to leave. You've already should have left. The trying to find out who the Time Variant Authority, who created them, because we know it wasn't the 3 space lizards, because they're just robots. But somebody created all this. Somebody's controlling this timeline. I like the theory that somehow it's like old Loki or something like that doing it, but at the same time, I don't know. That one seems a little too obvious that Loki would be the one behind everything in the Loki movie or the Loki TV show. But this episode was fantastic. All the other Lokis, the variants, the fact that they don't actually die, they just go to the end of the time stream and then some big special effect cloud eats everything, was fantastic. I loved the old Loki. I loved Kid Loki. I loved Railroad Worker Loki. And the best one of all of them is Alligator Loki. He is a very angry alligator, and he will fight you. He's not a very big alligator, but just all the variations of Lokis, and the fact that they got that one political Loki that looked like he's running for office from the covers and the comic books that they did back a little more recently, and they had Trash Loki. One of them had like bicycle handles for his horn helmet, and it was just... all these Loki variants were just great. And of course, Sylvie, the only female Loki, is, definitely a huge part of this. And I'm really excited. The end of the episode, they're going to see whoever it is at the end of time that's created all this. And I can't wait to see the season finale, because as far as I know, I think they're going to renew this series. I'm really curious. I can't wait to come on the show and talk about this next week. So anyway, it's been an hour and 20-something minutes, so I'm going to stop rambling and end the show, which
Inconceivable!
I know, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I just can't talk forever. But anyway, so appreciate everybody for tuning in. Remember, twitch.tv/CrashedWhileLoading. Subscribe, follow, like.
Smash that like button and subscribe now. Ring the bell for notifications.
If you want to. It's the best way to get. Also, clicking in the About section, going to the Discord server, joining me there. If you want to share information and things that you find interesting as well for me to talk about. I can talk about things I find interesting all day long, but I can also try to talk about things you find interesting, and if they're not, I'm going to make fun of you horribly. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm going to make fun of you horribly anyway. And, if you want to see me on YouTube, anytime I stream stuff there too, and the show uploads there if you want to see it sooner-ish than when it goes live on a podcast. That's also good to do. But that's it for this week. Appreciate you joining me. I'm Ashen Phoenix. Thanks for listening, and I shall see you next week.
Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his latest and video game covers and original music. Das Vodanya.